Hi, I'm James. Welcome back to Marriage Mondays. Today, we're going to mix things up a little bit. We're going to answer the question, what do women want and what do men want? So first of all, my wife Charlotte is going to have a go at answering that question, what do women want? Thank you, Charlotte.
Hello everyone, my name is Charlotte. I'm James's wife. He asked me to jump on today on his Marriage Mondays series and just chat to you about what women need in marriage. So it's quite funny because I definitely feel rather unqualified really to kind of talk about this. You know, we're still just entering our fifth year of marriage, which seems very early on, but at the same time I think it's important to address these kind of things, and this is stuff that James and I are working on, so why not share it with you. First of all, as a woman, maybe a bit stereotypical, but a lot of the time we don't really know what we want, or maybe we say we do know what we want and actually we mean something else. Like, hands up, I'm guilty of that. But yeah, I was just kind of having to think about this really, and trying to think of maybe kind of three needs that I think women would like. I did also do some research as well. We used a series called Marriage on the Rock when we were doing our marriage preparation before we got married. And Marriage on the Rock was done by Jimmy and Karen Evans. There's a couple in America, and their wisdom and knowledge is incredible, and their teaching is incredible, so you know, to be sure to check them out. But I kind of thought of my three things and then thought, oh well, kind of just have a look and see what they think, you know, what they put out in their marriage courses of what they think that women need, and actually it was really similar. So yeah, I guess it must be true. So yeah, I mean, the first one for me, and I've kind of grouped these needs together really, but I think the first one for me is definitely security, and leadership as well. And for me, it's just knowing that I'm safe, knowing that I'm secure, knowing that my husband is there, that he also would initiate things, that he will take on leadership roles, you know, that I won't be the first one all the time to say, oh well, we should do this with the house, or we should do this with the children, or the finances, you know, those kind of things. So I think definitely the first one for me is security and leadership from him, knowing that, you know, he cares for me, knowing that he's there for me, and knowing that he cares about everything else in our world as well, you know, the finances, the children, my spiritual needs, his spiritual needs, and I know that also seems probably quite a lot of pressure as well, and so I know that sometimes obviously we have to have grace with that, and we're not always perfect, and I know that, you know, in the Bible it speaks about the man leading the home, and I believe that is 100% true, and that's what I like, you know, from our marriage. But again, I know that that's not easy. The second thing, I think for me, is communication, and in two ways, you know, verbal and non-verbal, as well as discussion. As well, like, I think that discussing things and communicating things together is so important for me, and I know maybe James doesn't always find that easy, or maybe thinks that he has discussed something with me or spoken to me about it, and really maybe he's kind of told me half of what he's feeling, and I kind of have to match up the rest of the puzzle to kind of understand. And so again, maybe that doesn't come as naturally to men, to communicate and talk lots about their feelings, but for me that is important. And when I spoke about non-verbal, I think it's important as well for me as a woman to have that kind of non-verbal communication in terms of a hug, in terms of touch, but not necessarily in a sexual way, which I know again is polar opposite to what men probably like and prefer. And don't get me wrong, like, it's so important to have that sexual intimacy, and where, particularly for me as a mum of two young little ones, like, I find it tough sometimes to to kind of just be, yay, let's go for it, let's have that sexual intimacy, let's have all of that romance, you know, I'm tired. So at the same time, where I'm saying that I like, you know, kind of that, the touch that isn't necessarily sexual, of course the sexual intimacy is also very, very important. And I know both as he has to get used to maybe just giving a hug and a kiss and just being, you know, I'm there for you and I'm just going to hug you and it isn't going to lead to anything else. That it's also important for us to be sexual when we're too tired to be sexual, you know, it works both ways. So again, I'm aware as I'm saying these things that everybody is different, and some other women might be totally the opposite to me, but I mean, these are just kind of, you know, my needs. And the third one for me, and I've noticed it more recently after our second child, and you know, I breastfeed as well, so it's always quite full on for me. I don't feel that I have a lot of this space on my own. So the third one for me is just alone time and some independence. And I know that, again, it's difficult, particularly when you've got a family and there's other stuff to do when you're working, and obviously at the moment in lockdown, you know, we're always together. But for me, it's just having a bit of time out, just to sit in a room and listen to music, just to go out for a walk, just to have uninterrupted time reading the Bible and, you know, talking to God and praying. For me, that's really important. And again, kind of with the independence, it's good for me to have the say in certain things around the house, maybe how certain things look, or schedules that we're going to have for us and for the children. That's also really, really important. At the same time, I also enjoy us spending time together. But I know maybe men would appreciate that a lot more, us kind of doing all the activities that they like to do, whereas me as a woman, like, hands down, I just want some alone time. Like, I just want to chill and relax and kind of take a breather, especially after those busy days. So yeah, I mean, they're kind of the three needs that I think, just to sum up. It's security and leadership, it's communication involving discussion, and also having alone time and independence. So yeah, I hope this helps you guys, and it'll be interesting to see what it is that James speaks about in terms of what a man needs.
Thanks, Charlotte. Now, what do men want? Researchers have found that there are three things that most men want. The first is to be admired. The second is to have autonomy. And the third is to share activities with their spouse. So the first one, to be admired. You see, men measure their worth through all of their achievements, big or small, and they need to be recognized. So whether it's just tidying up, brushing up, or doing something in the garden, men really would appreciate that admiration, that encouragement that they've done a good job. For just a quick example, over the weekend, I gave our garden hedge a bit of a lockdown trim. And my wife, Charlotte, came out and said, "You're doing a great job with this," and just really encouraged me. And that was something which I really appreciated. Really an important point on this is that for women, when they don't receive admiration, that encourages them to work harder for it, generally. But when that's the opposite for a man, if they don't receive admiration, they're demotivated. They don't want to do the things that offer that opportunity to give admiration. They're less motivated to do so. So it's really important to offer that praise, but it's got to be genuine, and it's got to be from a truth of what your feelings are about it. Second, autonomy. Men need autonomy. It says in the famous book Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus that when men are faced with stress, they can become increasingly focused and withdrawn, while women become increasingly overwhelmed and emotionally involved. At these times, a man's needs for feeling good are different from a woman's. He feels better by solving problems, while she feels better by talking about problems. You may have found that when speaking to your husband, he doesn't always want to talk through the minutiae of everything to do with a certain task that's overwhelming him. What he may need is just a time to finish it. And in a similar way, after work, it's not, well, however that is working out for you, however that schedule happens during lockdown, it's a good idea to have that autonomous time, to have that space once the working day is finished, because it's not always easy for a man to come in and talk about everything that's happened in the day, that sometimes they need a little time to unwind, whether it's to just go for a quick walk or water the plants or do something, or just have a read of the paper or something like that. That may just help in the relationship. And third, shared activity. It's so important that a man and wife share activities, that they do things together, because friends do things together. And if a man and wife are a good husband and wife, they must be good friends. So maybe take some time to think about the activities that you could do together with your spouse. Now, it may be that you might be thinking, well, I don't like anything that he likes, or she doesn't like anything that I like. But there are many activities that you could do together, and there can be some compromise. So make a list of all the activities that you could potentially do, yes, even in lockdown, and then from that list, cut it down to some things that you would actually enjoy doing with that person, doing with your spouse. Just for an example, my wife and I played some cards the other night, and it's a small thing, but it's just a fun thing to do together. And I just share a story from the book Saving Your Marriage. And before it starts, the husband, Les, really enjoyed to ski, and he set out some time to go and ski after he'd done a week's work away. And he was speaking to his wife after he'd gone out for that skiing time, and he said the weather was fantastic, the slopes were great, but it wasn't as good as it would have been with you. And she was under the impression that she slowed him down. She wasn't as confident a skier, so she didn't really understand that. But he really wanted to share that experience of something that he enjoys with his wife, because he wants to be a friend as well as a husband to her. So I hope that encourages you. Thank you for listening. God bless. See you next week.